Thank you very much for this very engaging panel discussion. It was very popular topic nowadays. Now we are together with co-founder and CEO of Multiverse X, Benjamin Minku, will be with us for giving his speech. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Hello. It's really great to be here in Istanbul and have this conversation with you guys. And my talk today will be a bit different. We will share some things that are not too much discussed and that I believe are crucial in the conversations around adoption of blockchains today. The title of my talk is Blockchains Are Dead. Long live blockchains. And maybe before, just as an idea, before jumping into it, I'd be curious how many of you here just own any Bitcoins? If you can raise a hand. Okay, quite a few people. How many of you have owned a meme coin? Okay, even more people have owned a meme coin than own Bitcoin. That's interesting. How many of you have played with DeFi in the blockchain space? Okay, very cool. Now, I'm more curious who here has heard about Elrond? Okay, that's a long time ago, and it's really cool to see people that have heard about Elrond. How about Multiverse X? Anyone? Okay, a few people. Interesting. So the key idea here that I'll share is that I'll just compress sort of everything I know about blockchains. We've built something that is extraordinary and have learned an extraordinary amount of things. Yet, I think everything we've learned can be compressed in a very, very simple idea from which everything else can be derived. And this idea is the following, that at the end of the day, any sufficiently advanced and scalable system, be it in nature, society, or computation, must by necessity be sharded. Now, why is this crucial? Why is this super, super important? Well, because any non-sharded system is flawed, broken, and will essentially die. So, understanding this point, I believe, is crucial for everything that is being built in the blockchain space, for any type of adoption conversations, for any type of builders that are really serious about things. So let me expand that. The simplest idea to think about is that nature has had millions of years, billions of years, where it has iterated on many things, and yet it has not discovered a better way than building at scale, other than sharding or parallelization. That means that in everything we've built, in nature, we can see that sharding is embedded in it. You just never hear about it, and that's not too much discussed. At the same time, everything we've built within society, at the end of the day, if it's scaled, it has parallelization and sharding embedded into it. There is no society, no scalable system in society that we've built without this idea called sharding. Even more closer to what we are doing, computation, I think, is just the default. There is no one serious building anything in the space of computation without discussing about sharding, without understanding, and it's so common sense that it's frankly extraordinarily surprising that people have forgotten this very, very important truth. So the fact of the matter is that all current blockchain iterations are basically flawed. Even though they've achieved some adoption, if they want to scale at a global level, if they want to process throughput, transactions, applications, and so forth, they're essentially broken. This cannot be done, which is why the scaling law is extremely important. It's the one thing that, if you understand, it can give you a completely new view on the world and what this all means. So why do I discuss about this? Because at the end of the day, what we've built with Elrond previously and now Multiverse X is a sharded supercomputer that can process more than 100,000 transactions, has robust security, and is probably the most advanced, scalable, and secure layer 1 in the world today. Not in a few years, not in the future, but today. And that is something extremely important, because at some point, all the current blockchains that are out there will hit their limits. And as they do this, it will be extremely obvious that the scaling law cannot be circumvented. And that is the most important thing that you want to sort of have in mind as you build on one particular blockchain. Now, there's one extremely cool thing that we've released a few months ago that we believe will connect Multiverse X with all the major blockchains in the world and will give something extraordinary to these blockchains. And this idea is essentially a unification layer, where we are taking everything that we've built within Multiverse X, the advanced scalability, the security, and the entire UX around the interaction with the application and so forth, and we're sharing this with the world in a way where all the major blockchains need not die, because they can be upgraded to a kind of acceleration layer, interoperability layer, and a kind of unification layer that enables this deep and unified interactions for both users, builders, and most importantly, enables them to escape this great filter. So this is why sovereign chains are out. And of course, if you build something really cool today, it's worth thinking what would be the most ambitious thing that you'd build if you'd not have to think about any kind of limitations, scalability limitations, security limitations, or any other limitations at all. What would be the most ambitious thing that you'd try and you'd deploy, knowing that the fundamental problems that have not been solved for so many years are now solved and they're done? So if you're a builder and are particularly passionate about what you're trying to build and spreading that into the world, I encourage you to take a look at sovereign chains and give them a spin, play a bit with them, test them, try to break them, try to benchmark them across the industry, and then just look at what they offer compared to everything else that's out there. If there's one thing that I want to take away with you today, is that during the next period, there will be a great, shocking moment at some point where people finally wake up and realize that a blockchain that can do 15 transactions per second or 100 transactions per second or whatever other number that is extremely small and unusable cannot be used in the world. It might be interesting for some particular period, for some particular time, but it will die in one way or another. So the most important point to ask is, when you look at this architecture, given that nature has taught us that this is the simplest thing to look for, and the most important thing that enables us to scale. In society, we've learned the same lesson. In computation, we learned the same lesson. Perhaps the simplest question to ask when you look at one of these technologies is just, is this a sharded system? Almost like as you would ask any kind of super common sense idea. Because if it's not, at some point, reality will hit, and it will be very, very fascinating to see what the options are. Now, the great part is that if you're part of some other ecosystem, we're extremely happy to have conversations around sovereign chains, build the connections, and make sure that we offer the best solution, not only to builders, but to the entire world. Now, there's, I think, one more thing with which I'll conclude, and this is that we have some really cool builders from Turkey that we're extremely excited about, that have built a kind of new gaming ecosystem on top of a sovereign chain that will have a kind of gaming passport, a game store, a gaming launchpad, and the dense creation worlds with native asset. This is a project that will be coming to the X Launchpad during the next period, and I'm just super, super happy and excited to see any type of serious builders, but even more builders that have put in effort over years to give a test to sovereign chains and take the technology to the next level. Thank you, and definitely think about sharding during your next conversations with the other builders, with the other blockchains. Thank you very much.